Well, Kubli, I think we'll go ahead and get started if that's okay. Okay, excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us as part of the School of Public Health Mentor Program kickoff for 2022. We'd like to start our event today with an acknowledgement. As many of you know, the School of Public Health and the University of Minnesota stands on the ancestral land of the Dakota people. Minnesota comes from the Dakota name for this region, Minnesota Makose, the land where the waters reflect the skies. We acknowledge the ongoing debt that is owed to the Dakota people and strive to create healthy dialogue, relationships, and practices that address this injustice, as well as others related to the Indigenous people of the state. So thank you all so much for joining us today for this event. My name is Allison Spalding. I am a 2013 grad of the PhD program in EPI. I'm also a member of the School of Public Health Alumni Executive Board, and I chair the mentoring committee. I've been a mentor for the past 8 years. And the reason I participate in the program is really that I just really want to help the next generation of public health practitioners launch their careers. And as you all well know, there is never been, I think, a more important time for public health. And this really is a moment where all of our students are really needed now more than ever. So I am only in my job and my career because of people who have helped and guided and mentored me. And so I try to do everything I can to kind of help that next generation get to where they want to go as well. So thank you all for being on. So I'm excited for this morning. Let me go through kind of how the event will flow. So you'll have the opportunity to hear from some of our mentor and mentee as part of a panel. And you'll hear about their experiences and their successes and challenges and get some tips from them. And then hopefully this will be an opportunity for those of you on that are mentees as part of the call to think about how you want to maximize that relationship with your mentor. And then I'm very excited that we're going to have also time to recognize our 2022 Mentors of the Year awardees. And that'll be in the second half of the program. So before we get started, I have a few people I'd just like to introduce. So and a couple housekeeping items. So please make sure you're muted when you're not speaking, but do feel free to put questions that you have in the chat. You can either direct them to Kubli Atau, who's the School of Public Health, in the chat box, or to everyone, and Kubli will be monitoring those. So to that end, I did want to make sure and introduce Kubli Atau. She is the Associate Chief Advancement Officer at the School of Public Health, and she's joining us today. I also want to take a moment to thank the mentor committee members that are on who help us throughout the year, and I really appreciate their time and volunteering to help support the program. So now let's get to the panel. So I am excited to introduce our panel. Obviously, mentoring relationships, like any other relationships, take work to be successful. As a mentee, you'll be gaining valuable advice and have a trusted mentor to guide you through tough decisions and opportunities. And then as a mentor, you are building your legacy by sharing your knowledge and giving back to the School of Public Health about your experiences, as I mentioned, so that we can really help that next generation of public health professionals. It's important to share that the School of Public Health Mentor Program is a community, and we are all here to support each other. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our mentor-mentee panel and give you the opportunity to learn from their experiences. In fact, our two mentors today are our award recipients of the 2022 Outstanding Mentor Awards. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Victoria Anderson, Victor Galfano, Linda Brandt, and Hannah Kinzer. Sorry about that. So hello. Welcome to the four of you. Hopefully you can see them on their screens.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. So I'm wondering if we could start with our mentors, Linda and Victor. And I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit more, introduce yourselves for us, tell us about your program, when you graduated, what you're up to now, and why you participate as mentors in the program.
Linda, beauty before age.
Age before beauty, Victor, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm an MHA graduate from '86 and have been in the operations of healthcare provision in my entire career. Been in a variety of settings, everything from small rural facilities to large urban settings. Even was lucky enough to work with a healthcare company in the Middle East for a couple of years, back before it was not as challenging as it might be today. Have done everything from systems to small hospitals to practice management, for-profit, nonprofit, faith-based, and but all in the hospital, all in the healthcare operations side. So that's what I've been doing. This year is my 7th mentee, so I have been doing this a number of years. Really have enjoyed it from the perspective of not only being able to give back a little bit, but also to help my listening skills and to kind of take a moment and step away from that problem-solving methodology to listen and try and learn a little bit. I also appreciate the fact that I can gain some insights on what's happening, current issues. I've been out of education for a long while, and so to hear what the younger generations are learning about helps me to focus what some of the things I've been doing. So I have really appreciated that, and just have had a variety of people to work with, and have enjoyed listening and learning from each of them as well.
Thank you, Victor. It was great. It's been lovely to get to know you. I love showing up early for things. That's like one of my identities, is show up early and help and clean up at the end. So I'm Linda Brandt. I have my MPH in epidemiology, but my heart is really in community health. So I started off in community health and switched over to epidemiologist because I'm a person who needs as much challenge as possible. And it was actually pretty fun to reapply and have one of my professors in biostatistics say, yes, you should switch over. And then my epidemiology has been in the heart of sort of what I've loved as well, to look at the data. So I have really appreciated that decision to go back to school for MPH. And I now work for Hennepin County doing worksite wellness. So if you live in Hennepin County, I work for you as a public service servant, trying to improve your health at work. You may have seen me on the treadmill desk. I'm a big fan of virtual co-working and treadmill desking, and just having a healthy workplace that helps people thrive. Career health is a particular passion of mine, and the mentoring program. What could you not want or get from this great program of getting to know people who are going after pursuing their passion, and saying, hey, I could use some help from someone further down the path. So it's been really inspiring. Definitely have received more than I've given in my view. And then the only other thing to know about me is I consider I'm a renegade community builder. So I just threw my LinkedIn URL in the chat. So definitely connect with me.
Excellent. Thank you both. Let me pass it now to Hannah, and as a mentee, have you introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning to everyone. So I graduated from the School of Public Health Community Health Promotion MPH program back in 2021. So we're still we're just getting out of the major COVID lockdowns. So I am currently a PhD student at Washington University in St. Louis. I'm really focused on health communication and bringing equity into disease communication work. And I worked with Linda as my 2020 to 2021 academic year mentor. So I was in the midst of applying for PhD programs and finishing up my MPH degree. So there was a lot going on in my life, and I really appreciated Linda's support. I've gotten a lot out of mentor programs in general. And I want to give a shout out to my mentor from 2019 to 2020 because her name is Kate Awesome. She works at the health department, another awesome mentor. I think this program is great because as a student, the biggest thing that I think I've gotten out of the mentor program is one, being introduced to other professionals, two, being able to just honestly reflect about the really heavy work that we do sometimes in public health. and 3, just having kind of someone to cheerlead, to support you as you are navigating all the different options that are like available to you, especially as a student, but even afterwards.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. Victoria, hello.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me here. I'm Victoria. I'm currently still in my degrees. I'm doing the MHA program, Masters of Healthcare Administration, then also the Masters of Public Health Administration, PHAP. So the MPH and MHA. And I started off my mentor-mentee relationship with Victor, and he has been so supportive, and that's what I really like about this program. And through challenging situations or challenging choices, decisions you have to make. He helped me make a lot of different decisions and choices, and just helped me with my interview processes, because it can be pretty extensive with the MHA program. So he helped me get back into Mayo Clinic as an intern, and then also land the strategy position after at Mayo Clinic. So I've been really thankful for Victor to be, supportive with my internships, and we met weekly. So that's what's really beneficial with the mentorship program. You can meet weekly, bi-weekly, whatever you prefer. Actually, I believe we met bi-weekly, but we had a long hour meeting and we would create an agenda, talk about what each of us wants to talk about, make sure it's valuable for the meeting. And then just with connections with Achi, there's so many different things that this program can bring to you. And especially if you can really connect with your mentor, and thankfully I had that. And just being, like Hannah is saying, just having someone as a cheerleader, being able to rely on them. Like I remember calling, for example, Victor randomly, and he would be there to support me through like a timely decision with other organizations. So I've been really thankful for this program, and I'll always remember it. And now Victor and I will be in the same state in Arizona.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for the introductions. And Victoria, actually, what you were commenting on relates to my first question. And I was curious if any of the panelists can tell us what are some tips or strategies you've used to maximize and kind of operationalize that mentoring relationship?
I could even start. Victor was really helpful with kind of setting up the relationship and kind of how we'll structure our meetings. So we would create an agenda and really maximize that meeting time, because of course his schedule is really busy and mine's busy more with school wise, and seeing not only how Victor could help me, but how I could help him as well. So I know, Victor, you might be able to talk about this a little more, but within his area, he's in Flagstaff right now as an administrator. And we were kind of able to talk a little bit about the cultural barriers within what he faces for as an administrator within some different populations, where I can kind of help with the MPH and just with what I'm studying and whatnot. So just being able to really structure those meetings, and then also just kind of having expectations between the mentor and mentee.
To get to your question, Allison, and yeah, Vic and I, it was great from the point of view that there were times when we talked more frequently than we scheduled, but it worked out well that way. And I think that's one of the points that's important, is flexibility. But one of the things that I have learned, because I think Vic was my 6th mentee, and I've got a 7th one person now. And one of the things I like to do is send an email out to start with to say, so tell me something about yourself. And I didn't do that the first couple of times, but I did find that valuable. And what I learned through being a mentor a couple of times, some of the benefits. So asked about what an email just sent out to say, tell me about what your interests are, what kind of roles you're looking for, what objectives do you have for this program, and to talk a little bit about structure. And one of the things we did do is I do ask for an agenda 24 hours in advance. I find that helps the mentee kind of focus on, well, what do I want to talk about, and give thought to it, rather than just, oh my gosh, I got to make this call. And it gives me a chance to be a little bit prepared. So I did find that valuable. The other thing that I did learn is I sent a note out at the end of the year saying, okay, did we meet your objectives? What advice do you have for new folks? What improvements can we make? What went well? What do we do better? and for my own benefit, was there a good balance? Did we, did I listen appropriately, or did I just reach in with solutions? Because that's something that, from my perspective, I want to improve. So those were kinds of things, and every person has come back with different perspectives on that, which has been really helpful.
I would love to go after that, because I so agree with the idea of find the things that you connect with and you have mutual interests around, because for me, the sustainability piece is so important, like commitment to that person that they have asked for help. And in my mind, there's no exit from that freeway of like, why would you not continue to help them in whatever way you can over a lifetime? So modeling the vulnerability to say, here's what I really think about the field. Here's what I really think about the challenges that students face. What was really great was working when I was a student, as a graduate student, not paying for my education because the university covered it. Thank you. Still grateful to the university with that agreement. So I kind of do everything with, I consider love, with passion, vulnerability, and commitment. And the passion is like what Victor has been doing this for years, another kind of junkie of this program, which is great. This is the kind of thing we should really love. And I'd love to hear Hannah talk about the stuff we did together, because I think of all the matches, she really suggested we do stuff together that was in the field of public health, and kept it very mutual, not just here's my network and here's what things we have in common, but it was really, and just so inspiring. I mean, that's really what I would say is find the things that you really, where it's a peer relationship, and you share your wisdoms and what's been useful for you in thinking about the field. Like for me, it's like reading the business page and really using LinkedIn well, or certain tools that have been useful, but really sharing that perspective, but cheering each other on, I think is, to me, fundamental.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the really fun things that we did was I invited Linda to one of the events that was going on in one of my classes at the time. We were organizing a community listening event because we really wanted to, it was part of like a class that focused on facilitation skills, and two, we were trying to practice the process of community listening and learning more about how people were experiencing the pandemic through the kind of the lens of contact tracing. And Linda happened to be working as a contact tracer at the time. And we kind of talked about it informally during our mentoring sessions, just reflecting on, how are you integrating equity into your work? How are you thinking about it? How are you coming away from conversations, processing it? And so I invited Linda to to the listening event. And it was really cool, to see her interact with my classmates too. And it was really neat to hear about, like, more fully about her experience as a contact tracer. So I learned a lot from just inviting her to class, and hopefully it was a fun time. It seemed like everyone enjoyed kind of the session, and Linda was able to meet not only my classmates but other people that my classmates had invited. So that's one of the things I recommend, is kind of attending an event together, or inviting your mentor to events that are, one, supporting your professional development, but two, letting you kind of learn about the field of public health by asking those around you, and even in larger group settings.
Hannah, can I ask you to also talk about the podcast? Because to me, it's so cool.
Yeah, so I've been working on a podcast through the School of Public Health, and that it's through the Public Health Review journal. And so, yeah, one of the fun things that we did was chat about the podcast, invite her to be a part of it. So, like, again, another aspect where I included my mentor into just something that I was already working on, and I thought that other people could really like learn from her as well. I wanted to share Linda.
Thank you for that. And I think you're all highlighting kind of the organic nature of this relationship, but I am curious specifically, Hannah and Victoria as mentees. Victor mentioned having an agenda. What are some topics that you would recommend students consider putting on an agenda for meetings with their mentor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that sometimes we would talk about maybe leadership styles, or leadership styles. Also, correct me, Victor, if you remember some, let me know. But also maybe negotiations, or I would just say stuff
We
like
did
that.
spend a lot of time, because Vic was involved with some searches relative to her summer placements. So, and that's happened with a number of students from the MHA program, because there's a summer residency. And for the first year students, we spent a lot of time talking about selecting and interviewing. And I think that's a skill set that most of us as mentors have. We've hired people. So I think for the most part, the kinds of questions that we ask and in trying to assess somebody's fit, I think is always a good topic. We spend a fair amount of time talking about assessing different organizations and opportunities, and I think that was a big topic. Another one that I think has always been important to me, and with Vic and others, has been decision making. I don't care what part of public health you're in, decision making is always an important skill set, and so that's been something that I've tried to focus on whenever I've had a conversation with mentees.
Also, just asking a lot about professional experience. I remember asking Vic a lot about his professional experience and how he's navigated different situations, and especially through decision making, and just with his employees providing feedback as well.
So one of the fun things about being part of the mentor program for multiple years in a row is that what I could kind of get a sense of what's a good way to what's a good way to prepare for meetings with a mentor. And I've carried that into my PhD program, as I now use that kind of structure to structure my time with my advisor, especially since they have a bajillion things going on. And so you always want to make sure that you're prepared for those meetings. So kind of a structure that I've come up with that I use with basically all mentors that I have is one, a check-in. So just checking how you're doing, anything top of mind today, just really easy, very informal. After that, sharing some plans that you have with your mentor. So, hey, Linda, I'm thinking of applying to PhD programs. Just wanted to let you know. After that, progress. So this is where I'm at in the application phase, and Linda was really, really good about checking in about where I was in that timeline, what I was thinking, not even pressuring oh, are you at this point that you said you would be at, but just saying, hey, how is it going? And so I think that was a really low stakes way to keep me accountable, and for Linda to know, where I might be at, what I might be searching for. And so she could kind of guide conversation there. Next, challenges. So if you have any challenges that are happening, say, for example, during the dead middle part of the pandemic, I was talking about how it's really, really hard to connect with people. And Linda actually shared some excellent resources for one, just co-working with other people. So FocusMate is a resource that she recommended. And then there was, I think, a lean-in group on LinkedIn. So she was able to share kind of resources to help me overcome these challenges. And sometimes I didn't even know that they were challenges until I came to this meeting, reflected, and prepared. And then the last is feedback and questions. So if I had specific questions hey, Linda, would you like to come to this community listening session? and feedback. So, hey, Linda, would you be willing to like read this personal statement? That's those like very, very focused questions. And then last is kind of like next steps. So when's our next meeting going to be? Just double checking that that still works for you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I do want to draw everyone's attention in the chat, and Sherry has posted, an important point, which is, trying to get at core values for what your mentee may be looking to get out of the relationship. So to that end, I'm wondering, I guess for one of our last questions, I'm curious with the panelists, what do you think is a realistic set of expectations for things to come out of the mentoring relationship? Victor, why don't we start with you? I see you first on my screen.
I think that's an interesting question. I think the important component of this is that I've had the most benefit and have provided the most value when the mentee has had ownership. And it's interesting because I've seen now a variety of people and they've had various levels of ownership. It's like one more thing to do, and other folks have been really into it, like I really need help and support. And I have personally gotten the most value when people have been more invested. And so I think that sense of fulfillment is an important component coming out on the mentor side. But that's a good question that I'm not sure that I've fully explored. But I do think that that relationship feels better personally when somebody's invested in saying, hey, this is important to me, and I really appreciate your help. So I think that's the side that I'm looking for when I get out on the back end.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you.
Completely agree with Victor that, I think obviously it should be driven by what the person who signed up for the program is looking for. And, this is what they're hoping to get. Keep bringing it back to that. Has that changed? Is that still your goal? And for me personally, it's like we're going to learn from each other. We're going to be inspired by each other. And we're going to, sort of help each other grow. So stretch, a little bit further because we're in this particular relationship that offers an opportunity to be really frank with each other about here's what I see, here's what I know. I don't know this. I'd suggest you talk to Victor about that. Oh yeah, or somebody else.
I mean, that's actually a very good point, Linda, that I thought, sharing networks is really beneficial. And I think that's a great insight.
Yeah, I think from a mentee standpoint, it's really helpful to keep the connections not only short term, but long term as well. So just being able to talk even after the program. And I know Vicky and I have been able to do that. And I've asked him advice on career paths and whatnot. So I think that's really helpful. And, just learning from his experiences or her experiences prior and just to utilize that in the future as a healthcare administrator or whatever career path you decide to pursue, because that really helps when you've had someone who's vulnerable to be able to talk about, what they've gone through, what they've done. And then it really helps you within your career.
Yeah, I found it really helpful to just reflect on where I was and where I wanted to go with Linda. Even though it's, like we ended up taking different career paths, and Linda was talking about like she had at one point considered kind of going the more academic PhD route. I found it really, really helpful just to hear how she processed like, this is what I think my values are, and this is where I want to go with it. And I can see it going in many ways. And so I think like being able to just honestly reflect it and, echoing what a lot of the panel members have said already, I think that was the biggest takeaway that I've had.
You know, one of the things that Hannah just said that makes sense, it's a safe place. You can ask stupid questions. And say, you know, I observed this, or I thought about this. Does this make sense? Particularly as you move from academia into, you know, the practical world. And it is that place. And I think that's a great insight. You can ask somebody's opinion where it's not going to have a lifelong effect on your career and say, oh, you know, I just stepped in that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much to our panelists today. And I think really the message here is that, you know, the relationship is going to be what you make of it, and that, you know, you may not have a perfect 100% aligned career match with your mentor-mentee pair, but hopefully there's always something there to be gained and learned and shared. So thank you so much to our panelists for your time today and your commitment to the mentor program. And I'd now like to transition us to honoring our 2022 Outstanding Mentors of the Year, Linda and Victor. So for more than 78 years, the University of Minnesota School of Public Health has prepared some of the most influential leaders in the field of public health and has transformed the way that public health is practiced truly around the globe. Our programs and research have evolved to meet the current public health needs, which we are all well aware are aplenty. But our focus and determination to protect and promote the health of all populations has not wavered since the school was founded in 1944. With an alumni community of over 12,000 around the globe, we continue to see our incredibly talented alumni give back to their alma mater and serve the next generation of SPH graduates. Every year, we select profoundly impactful mentors who have served as dedicated mentors and have made outstanding contributions to the career and professional development for multiple SPH students through the SPH Mentor Program. The 2022 Outstanding Mentors of the Year were nominated and selected by a committee of their peers as exemplars of the commitment, bold vision, and fortitude that we need in public health. And we are incredibly proud to call these alumni our own. Today, we celebrate two 2022 Outstanding Mentors of the Year, as I mentioned, Linda Brandt and Victor Galfano. So let me introduce Linda first, please. Linda calls herself a practical renegade community builder, which I love. By day, she promotes healthy workplaces at Hennepin County Public Health, as she mentioned, specifically Hennepin County Health at Work, which provides low and no-cost employee health promotion to human resource professionals. In her free time, Linda founded and manages a thriving network of lean-in circles inspired by Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In, her book called Lean In. The Lean In Together MSP network has grown from 12 people to over 7,000 in 30 circles across 6 continents. Linda has grown and diversified Lean In locally and globally through a LinkedIn group of more than 6,300 members, which she referenced during the panel. This positive community building experience has motivated her to build and manage Health at Work's LinkedIn group and 5 subgroups on the virtual co-working platform FocusMate. She was honored in 2016 with a Women in Business Award for her professional achievements, leaderships, and community contributions. And so I'm proud now to pass it off to Linda for a couple comments on your thoughts on being an Outstanding Mentor of the Year.
Thank you. I'll just start by saying, how many of you are familiar with Paul Farmer? Maybe raise your hand physically or put in the chat. How many of you are like diehard fans of Paul Farmer? Like, yeah. So in this year in which we, just heartbreakingly lost this public health hero, I'm thinking about one of the things that he really imprinted on me, which is something called areas of moral clarity. So AMCs, to be zippy and modern. So for me, participating in this program is an AMC. It is morally the right thing to do because the public health team is only as strong as its relationships. And we need to stay inspired. We know that it's a challenging field to be in. Most people before the pandemic had no idea what public health was. It's really important that we build a team, and that's sort of what I took from Paul Farmer. That he would. One time I got to hear him at the university. He said, we're a team. We can talk honestly among ourselves. Specifically, he imprinted on me the multi-drug tuberculosis in prisons in Russia. That being sentenced to jail, is very. He had stories of like what he had done through Partners in Health and making sure people in Haiti had access to the HIV drugs. So, volunteering for this program I think it's like Insta-friend. What could be better than like getting to cheer on somebody who wants to help other people be healthy? That just seems like, duh. We all want to raise the floor and make sure everyone has the opportunity to be healthy. And to do that, I think we have to keep each other in the game and excited. So I was just like floored when Hannah nominated for this award. And I'm really thankful for the recognition, but I'm also like really proud to be on the public health team where we are in the spirit of Paul Farmer and not forgetting about anybody. And I hope that you're also excited to be on the public health team. And I think showing up here today means that there's something that makes you want to bring your best to this field. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Congratulations again. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, especially in this time to have our community and know that you have people who, are there to support you in what is not always an easy profession, especially right now. I think it's really important. So thank you for that. All right, next up, I'd like to present Victor Galfano as our second outstanding mentor of 2022. So let me tell you a little bit about Victor. He was raised in the Chicagoland area. He attained his master's degree in health administration from the University of Minnesota in 1986. He has a professional history of general hospital operations and leadership. This experience includes, which he did mention, hospitals within the Cleveland Clinic Health System in Cleveland, the Adventist Health System in Chicago, and the Hospital Sisters Health System in Wisconsin. He began his career in human resources, where he served in a small rural hospital in North Dakota and a hospital system in Saudi Arabia before attending the University of Minnesota. So lots of questions about all these experiences. Mr. Galfano has functional expertise in service line development, ancillary support services, and business development. He's worked in small rural facilities, urban systems, and faith-based systems. He served as market CEO in 2 investor-owned specialty hospital systems, one based in Gary, Indiana, and the other in Central Indiana. And most recently, he became a practice administrator in Flagstaff, Arizona, where he is now, calling in very early. In 2020, he was an executive career coach working at a firm based in Chicago. And in this role, he provided guidance and support to senior level individuals who were displaced due to COVID. And over a 2-year period, he assisted more than 270 executives secure the next role in their career during an emotionally and professionally trying time, which just goes to show you that mentorship continues into your professional career. Mr. Galfano has provided support and insights to students in the mentoring program since 2018. He is a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Executives and the current president of the Arizona chapter. His wife, Marianne, is a high school teacher, another incredibly stressful and challenging profession. I'm thankful that she's doing that. They relocated to Arizona in 2019, where his oldest daughter is raising her family and 2 granddaughters, and his youngest daughter resides in Louisville, Kentucky, pursuing a career in the beverage industry. So Victor, congratulations, and would love to hear your thoughts on being awarded the Mentor of the Year.
Thank you. I think when I first heard about this, that the most important part to me was I was incredibly humbled by the fact that two different mentees nominated me from years back, and not even folks that, like, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So all told, I found that to be truly humbling. And when you're in it, I don't know that you think in those terms. You have a tendency to say, how can I help this person who's reaching out and has questions and needs insights? And as a result of that, didn't think about a longer game. Although I have maintained relationships with at least 3 of the 7 people or 6 people that I've worked with so far going into other years, and they called and said, this is an opportunity presenting itself to me right now, and we would talk through those things. I think it's more than just how do we get through an academic year. I think you establish relationships with people longer as a result of it. So, as I said, in the day-to-day nuts and bolts operating of this, you recognize that people raise questions that are not, that may seem obvious, but then not. And the fact that you have to articulate a response to it is incredibly helpful to me as an individual. So it kind of keeps me on my toes, as well as provides some level of support to those individuals. So again, if I had one thing to say about it, is it's just, you know, humble that yeah, that kind of an effect on someone.
Thank you so much, Victor, and congratulations again. I think that the beauty of this is, you know, no one gets into mentoring thinking they're going to win an award, right? It is kind of like a, you know, a hidden thing that people do, and you just do it in the background, and you're doing it because, as Linda mentioned, it's part of, you know, core values. But I'm just so glad we're able to honor you both for your time, and really appreciate everything you've done to help support this current generation and next generation of students. So Victor and Linda, if I may, though, we have a question in the chat that I'm curious if I could ask on behalf of someone who'd messaged. How can you find a common ground or productive relationship in a mentor-mentee pairing when your degree and career paths are totally different? I had goals in mind coming into my mentorship, but because of our differences, I've had to reassess most of them. I'm trying to figure out how I can make it work for the both of us. So curious if you can both comment on that, please. And I see Victoria still on too, so maybe she can comment as well.
I think, Victor, you were talking about this in the pre-session, so
Yeah,
take it away.
this year is the first year I've got a mentee who is not in my career path. And I've given thought to that and how to deal with that. And I hope she's on. We have talked once now, and I think the key there needs to be along the lines of, as I mentioned before, it's got to be mentee ownership, and what is it you want, and try and think through some of the objectives. There are overarching issues. No matter where you go, and we talked about this before the session, but no matter where you are, you've got things like decision making and problem solving that you have to address. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling cars, building refrigerators, or you know, trying to deal with food deserts. It's all there are those components. You know, I had the benefit of being able to work with an outplacement firm. I can bring some knowledge to you know, job search that you know, prior to that I didn't have that same understanding of. So I think the key there becomes mentee ownership and trying to understand what it is that I want, that they want out of the piece, and a good understanding of who your mentor is and what skills she or he has and brings.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. That I think of the book Range, and it's about how people outside the field can often bring insight into a field that, so not just the transferable skills and interests, but what are the insights from the outside? I was always surprised. I can even think of an example of a woman who was saying, seemed like, you should talk to my husband who works at Medtronic and something around surgical stuff. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? And like, oh yes, it was a great connection, both engineers, which, you know, that's enough. It should be enough. But I was like, really? That? So I think you really are surprised. If there are any Daniel Pink fans here, he talks about kind of like where the ambiverts, people are not quite in one field or the other. And yeah, just being open to connecting someone with someone who is more relevant. Or just yesterday meeting with a student, and she wasn't planning to take full advantage of the career services at the School of Public Health. I was like, are you out of your mind? Like, you have this great resource, and that should be like the top of your list. They're amazing people there. I was like, I know that because I'm still in contact with those people because they're so great. So yeah, I think you're going to you're going to find things in common, and then if you have a broad enough network, can help them really refine what they're looking for. And then perhaps, you know, they can give that information to the School of Public Health, and they can say, well, we do have somebody now that you've narrowed it down. And that's what I'm often saying is, if you can narrow down your ask, that will really help me. But if it's really broad, it's a little harder to be helpful.
Thank you for that. I didn't know, Victoria, if you wanted to comment as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Vic and Linda said it completely right. I think it's helpful to understand kind of what the mentee is looking for. And additionally, like from my perspective, I always wanted to make sure that I was providing value as well to my mentor too. But I think it's, yeah, more of the mentee as well. I think for MHA students, I think it'll be different for every program. MHA students are more focused on career paths and kind of leadership, decision making, exactly what Victor was saying, compared to, I don't know, what other programs are looking for. I think my path would be a little different if I was just going to MPH compared to MHA, since you do have to do that summer residency and then go straight into looking for a job right after it. So I think that that is really key, and just being available for your mentee when they're, you know, having tough decisions, and also just timely decisions too, and just keeping the relationship and updating your mentor. I think that was my favorite thing. I was like, oh my gosh, Vic is going to be so happy about this. So with the strategy thing. So it's always great, you know, talking things out and just, yeah, helping each other grow.
Yes, thank you for that. I want to make sure and highlight you that point that as mentors, we really want to hear about the student experience. We really want to hear about what it's like at the school. What are your challenges? What are your successes? For sure, we want to hear about that. I have another question that just came in. This person's interested in the panel's thoughts on giving students an assignment or doing something like reading a book together for discussion. Students are so busy, it seems unfair to pile on, but I also find this can lead to good discussions and new insights. Linda, you mentioned, it sounds like maybe that's something you're doing.
Yeah, you know, I put in the chat my list of resources. So if there is a book or a video or something that you have in common, great. I definitely agree. I mean, it's almost impossible to get someone to read something in advance, but if you find out that they take regular walks with their dog and that book is on tape, I've hosted a bunch of book groups lately, so I can recommend What Happened to You and Just Work by Kim Scott. So like if you come across a topic and you're both willing and want to make that something that is a learning opportunity, or I'll say as well, I did a book group around What Got You Here Won't Get You There, which is kind of one of those books about like, you've been really successful, but there's some things that people, like I would say everybody in this Zoom call, where we need to also grow because no one's correcting us or not pointing out some one of the 20 bad habits basically that leaders have. So I think that's a great idea, but it will obviously depend on the bandwidth of the student and maybe less so the mentor.
Victor, I don't know if you have any thoughts on
the observation that the students are, you know, so immersed in what they have to do, another assignment, even if it has a great value and interest. I mean, some of the stuff that Linda's sharing, terrific resources, but I don't know where you would find the time. As a matter of fact, I will honestly say that in some respects, it's gone in the other direction. I have asked, what do you guys reading today? And then I picked those books up. I got a great book from one of my mentees a couple of years ago that I really enjoyed and got a lot of value out of. And he was, you know, he said he just finished it, and it was on decision-making theory and good things like that. And actually about a person who used decision theory in playing poker. And it was fascinating, and I got a great value out of it. So it goes more the other direction than me saying, here, read this and tell me what you think, or let's discuss it. I don't see where anybody can, who has a full caseload, and in some cases working, that I just don't feel right asking them to do additional work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. I think, you know, I think even this idea of like creating a list of resources, you know, that the student and or the mentee can come, the mentor can come to at the time when they have that available is great to have, you know, maybe that's after graduation, maybe that's in between jobs, you know, so I think this is very valuable. Thank you. Please do continue to put questions in the chat if you have, because we will go, you know, till 9:30 with the event, but I did just want to offer some concluding remarks. If you haven't done so already, we encourage you to set up that first meeting with your mentor mentee. And then in that meeting, as we've talked about here today in the panel discussion, it's important to set those expectations for the relationship, what you're looking to get out of it, what you consider to be a timely email response, things like that. And then throughout the year, the program and Kuglia and her team will be sharing tips and tricks and helpful resources to help you make the most out of the relationship. But please also know too, you can always reach out to me. You can also reach out to Kubli and her team if you have any issues at all. Kubli was just sharing with me, you know, that a mentor-mentee pair didn't hear from each other. It turns out the email addresses were slightly wrong. So please do know you can always reach out to us. And I hope today provides you with a motivation, kind of that kickstart to start your mentoring relationship. Our mentor and mentee community and committee are both strong and a vital part of the School of Public Health. And I really do think add incredible value for our students and for our graduates. So I really appreciate all of you participating in the ways that you are doing so, and thank you. So as I mentioned, I'm happy to stay on until 9:30, as I'm sure other people will as well. And then Linda, you said someone messaged you about Team of Teams. Okay. So yeah, so please do continue to put any resources you might have in the chat and any questions you might have. Also feel free to unmute and ask as well. I think we can go into more of an informal part of the presentation, but again, just appreciate everyone attending.
You know, one of the things, and Linda shared an immense number of references, which have been really valuable and beneficial. One of my favorite quotes came from Marcus Aurelius, believe it or not. And the point is, don't see more, his quote was, don't see more misfortune in the event than good fortune in the ability to bear it. And I think I have found that to be a great, when I can remember it in the moment, a great piece to live by.
Great.
Oh, the Daily Stoic. There you go, Linda. Nice
Looks like
job.
you get a lot of recommendations here.
See, Linda is so well rounded. I'm so impressed. She gets my vote for Mentor of the Year.
Good morning. My name is Ankur Sharma. I'm one of the mentors the first time around. So Victor and Linda, thank you for sharing your insights. Hope to follow the path that you have so nicely created and paved. Question I have, I think it's Victor's comment earlier, share the network. We all have different types of jobs, different types of experiences. Is there a place where mentors can look up other mentors? Because we're all here to want to help. But maybe we could look up, you know, maybe Victor has a skill set that my mentee might be looking for, and it might be better answered by him than by me. And rather than leaving him or her in the dark, we say, okay, why don't you try, you know, Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so instead of, you know, so as I said, being a first-time mentor, I perhaps don't know all the mentors here and all the wonderful resources that might be out there. I'm wondering if something like that could be organized.
Sorry, Allison, I'm just gonna mute myself. Well, first off, thank you so much for that, just really that question. And I think absolutely, I think that's one of the things that we really want to start building in is the ability for mentors to contact other mentors, for mentees to be able to reach out to mentors as well too already in the program. I think about Victor's situation at this point in time and some other folks as well, like there's still a lot of mentees are exploring where they want to go with their career. We saw that a lot on the application, and pairing them up with different folks can help them explore, and then allowing, you know, so for instance in Victor's situation, allowing him to be able to say, hey, here's a list of mentors that are within that field. Let's start strategizing about how you can reach out to these individuals and start building a network within your field as well too to learn. I think we can definitely do that. And what we didn't share today is that, you know, we actually just recently hired an assistant director who will be overseeing the mentor program, and she onboards on the 7th, but this will definitely be one of the things that we prioritize to be able to get going, and so that we can really build out our community and make sure that our community feels very well supported. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. A lot of times what I do is I encourage students that I talk to connect with me on LinkedIn and then to go through my network on LinkedIn, because I tell them, like, I can't keep track of what all my friends are up to. So they very well may be at an organization you want to work at. So if they are, find them, send them that name to me, and then I can facilitate that connection to that particular organization. Any other questions? And thank you, by the way, for joining the mentor program for the first time. This is great. Also, recruit your friends if you know people that could participate. We're always taking people.
Good morning. This is Sherry Hampel, and one of the things I really would like to get some feedback from other mentors and or mentees is I've always encouraged my students to participate in the state public health association and also to try and go to the American Public Health Association annual meeting at least once because of just the exposure and the diversity. And I remember when I was a graduate student, which was a very, very long time ago, that one of my instructors required that we go to the American Public Health Association annual meeting and actually helped us poor students pay for it. And it was a life-changing experience for me, both career-wise and personally, seeing what's happening internationally. And so that's one of the things that I always really promote with my students. Thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
I could,
Great
Go ahead.
point, because as president of the Arizona chapter, definitely you get student rates, you can get into the ACHE for the MHA students, and definitely well worth it as a lifelong commitment. I know I first got involved when I was at the U, and definitely get involved with your your professional associations.
I was just going to say that a lot of times it's now online, so it's eliminated one of the barriers for those who can't travel for time or money reasons.
And there are deep student discounts, so it goes a long way.
Well, great. I don't see any other questions in the chat. If yeah,
Allison,
John.
on behalf of people on the call or Zoom today, just like to express appreciation to Allison. Allison chairs our mentor committee, very dedicated, very professional, and a good role model for all of us. And I just wanted to express appreciation to her for her efforts and dedication to the program.
Thank you, John. It really, as Linda said before, it's a team effort. And again, as you all well know now, these are not easy days for our profession. And yeah, something that I feel on a daily basis in my current job. So, you know, I just am motivated, but let's get these graduates out there. Let's get them. We need them. So anything I can do to help and we can do to help, we're here for all of you. So, well, thank you again. And I'm so excited. Kublia, thank you for all your help today. Thank you for joining, coming to the School of Public Health. It's such a gift to have you on the team. And she mentioned we have someone new starting as well in a couple of weeks, and really looking forward to Bao being part of the team as well. So thank you all for being on.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes. And congratulations again to Linda and Victor. Thank you. Take care.